Haskell Garrett is back at Ohio State. Welcome back to Lettermen Row. This is the Byers Auto Rapid Reaction. No sense in bearing the lead as we get back with this latest development as Ohio State continues to rack in the comings and goings. That's Jeremy Birmingham and Spencer Holbrook. I'm Austin Ward. This is a huge one, and it's an expected one. We've been talking about it, for the last couple of weeks that Haskell Garrett had been open to using that bonus year, the COVID year, however you want to call it, to come back, that this might not have been his true senior season. He confirmed that with a video. Looked like it was a pretty nice place wherever he was, a little tropical locale, after getting a chance to unwind after the season. But he said that prayer and self-talk and conversation with his family reinforced what we had been expecting from him, that this dominant presence at defensive tackle would come back and give the Buckeyes a big lift defensively.
Yeah, I mean, we expected it, but we also expected Tommy Togiai to come back. So it's nice that Haskell didn't leave people hanging on until March before confirming it. And Haskell's originally from Hawaii, so that's I think where he was when he filmed the video. He played in Las Vegas, but he is from Hawaii. So clearly he got to enjoy these last couple weeks away, and it's huge for Ohio State. With what we talked about about the Tommy Togiai video is that the lack of returning experience at the defensive tackle position when you have a guy like Haskell Garrett who played out of his mind this year. Now you can really start to piece together who's with him, whether it's Antoine Jackson, who announced he's taking advantage of the extra year today as well, or someone like Teron Vincent, who we obviously talked about already.
Yeah, and Spencer, you've written about Haskell Garrett a number of times and just how remarkable the story is. We've talked about it here at Lettermen Row, obviously a lot, that this could have been a very different, far more sad story for Haskell Garrett after getting shot in the face right before this, while the season was still canceled. Possibility this guy could have never played. Somehow, liquid diet and, getting some teeth replaced. He comes back with the best season of his career. Just, unbelievable journey.
Yeah, and you talk about the journey that he had to take to even get on the field. I've made it very clear he could not even be alive right now because of what happened to him in August. And now to see what he's done and to even be put in the position to have to make this decision, as big of a decision as it is, because he could have, went through the year and not had a very productive year and announced, and it could have just been, an announcement. This is a huge get for Ohio State to bring him back. And you've seen him climb up draft boards. He probably would have impressed at the combine because Ohio State defensive tackles usually do. And I just think that to get him back in this lineup gives the Buckeyes so much versatility with what they want to do on the defensive line. And I think it's just as big as any other announcement that they've gotten this cycle, including Chris Olave.
Yeah, I think that just because people forgot, sorry, Austin, the Big Ten media kind of screwed Haskell Garrett when it came to voting, right? I mean, he was a first-team All-American according to two different outlets, including CBS Sports. So I don't think people are really giving it enough attention to what it means to have him back when you're talking about a first-team All-American defensive tackle.
Yeah, and I believe some other, scouting sites, grading sites had him as one of the highest rated, if not the highest, defensive lineman in the country based on assignments. And I want to make sure I get these right. The stats don't even do it justice at the position he played. 8 games, 20 tackles, 4 tackles for loss, 2 sacks, interception, pass broken up, quarterback hurry, which those in college football are subject to a lot of discretion and change. And then that touchdown when he deflected the football to himself. I mean, that's it doesn't even really put into context the way that he collapsed pockets to put more pressure or get a hand in the face of quarterbacks, the way that he and Tommy Togiai both just swallowed up running backs in the middle. It took away running lanes. I mean, anybody paying attention, that's why Spencer and I talked about with the Big Ten Awards what a joke it was when Haskell Garrett was snubbed. This guy was playing at a level like few defensive tackles in recent memory for Ohio State. Truly a dominant force. And if he now, gets to eat some more solid food and train with Mickey Marotti in another year with Larry Johnson, he's sort of that example now of a guy who, why you wait, why you spend 2 or 3 years developing with Larry Johnson, and then you get your opportunity. The fact that Ohio State will now get the opportunity for 2 really productive years for him in the starting lineup is a huge bonus, but he's another one of these examples of why that patient approach with Larry Johnson works so frequently.
Yeah, I think that the biggest thing with Haskell is he allowed Tommy to do a lot of the things that Tommy was able to do, and Tommy did the same thing with him. Those two kind of played off each other. So I am really anxious to see who gets to play alongside Haskell Garrett next year, because whoever gets to play alongside him, I imagine, is going to have a pretty good year because he takes up that much space in the middle. He demands double teams. I think about the guy who won Big Ten Defensive Lineman of the Year. I think it's Davion Nixon. It's hard to even remember who he is just because it's like, the guy from Iowa that I've never heard of won Defensive Lineman of the Year over that guy? Really? So it was kind of puzzling when that came out, but there's not going to be any denying him of awards if he plays that way again next year in a 14-game schedule. That's for sure.
I think there's a benefit also in the fact that these guys that are returning to Ohio State with him, again, whether it's Antoine Jackson or Teron Vincent or Jaden McKenzie or Cormonte Hamilton, whoever it ends up being on the inside, to know that you have these next few months to really build that chemistry that him and Tommy have had. Those two have worked together sort of. They were always the rotating in together pair over the last couple of years. And you can see that they play off each other extremely well. And so now you have what you hope is a regular spring and summer leading into next season of somebody else being able to develop that with him. But also when you're looking at a group of guys that are really kind of waiting to see who steps up, if you have a story like Haskell Garrett and a leader like Haskell Garrett, it makes it a whole lot easier for Ohio State to say, Haskell, this is your guy. This is who we need you to focus on. And so whether you're talking about a Teron Vincent, who I think is the natural choice, it makes it easier to sort of tell a compelling story to that guy and say, this is what you can do if you put everything into this.
It's wild how this has been. We talked about last night, just the roller coaster day that Ohio State had on NFL draft early entry, deadline day, and that Tommy Togiai was the capper for that, with one that, we weren't anticipating, and then Ohio State thought that they were going to get him back, and having both of them would have been a huge deal. But then they were now halfway to potentially losing both. As you said, Haskell Garrett's got to make up his own mind, and no matter what was anticipated or indicated over the last couple of weeks, he still had to actually say, I'm coming back. And really, he stretched it out in that video, made sure that you took all 55 seconds or so to get there. I completely understand that. It's his moment. But after what happened with Togi, I'm sitting there on the edge of my seat, like, just going the other way. And because if they lost them both, we're talking about a pretty tough situation for Ohio State there in the middle of the defensive line.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to be a part of that situation because maybe somebody would have come out on top and come out with a Tommy Togiai-like rise, quickly. But to get him back and to not have to worry about that situation is as big as it can get for this team. I think that the boost that they were given from those two guys in the middle of the defense this year cannot be understated at all. I think it was one of the biggest storylines of the entire season, how good they were up the middle. To get one of those guys back, I'm going to keep saying it. It's absolutely massive.
And I think that there's actually a secondary benefit here where the Buckeyes are replacing four of their team leaders at linebacker, the relationship that Haskell Garrett has with Paulie Neoteote from USC, who was the number one ranked linebacker in the country in the class of 2018, inside linebacker. He's in the transfer portal. He's a former teammate of his at Bishop Gorman High School. And all of a sudden you wonder, hey, maybe there's an opportunity there to play together next year. The younger brother of Neoteote is at Michigan State. There's some conversazione about potentially both being Midwest bros. So you never know. I mean, the Buckeyes are kicking a lot of tires, and I think roster management in this year is going to be more difficult than any maybe ever. But there are talented players out there, and there is a relationship there that could have a backdoor interest for Ohio State.
How long have you been working on those pronunciations?
Not very long. But
how did you get those right and not conversation? It's not conversación.
It's not.
No.
Oh, maybe. Oh.
He's better he's better with those names than Austin was at the French name last year.
Mon Dieu.
That's why I had to get reps. You guys had to tell me how to say. That's why I'm asking who's talking about these guys. So because Berm seems to have an ear for their name. Just
Well, you just have to keep plugging away. You just got to push it out. You just got to work on it. But again, now that we're off track, it is definitely something to watch extra there. The Buckeyes have made it a point at Bishop Gorman back in those 2017, 2018 classes to build those relationships. And now maybe that comes full circle if Haskell's influence is still there, which it is because all those guys are still pretty close.
Going to have to wonder why none of us got an invitation out there to help Haskell Garrett film his announcement. That's got to be on Berm. You're our guy.
My fault. My fault.
Would have been a nice week, but we're too busy to sit by the pool anyway. We've had to cover all of these declarations from the Buckeyes over the last few days. It's been a busy stretch, but Haskell Garrett returning, no matter if you thought it was coming or not, is a huge one for Ohio State moving forward. That's why he's getting a Byers Auto rapid reaction. Berm and Spencer Holbrook joining me as always. I am Austin Ward. Stay with us for full coverage of the Ohio State Buckeyes all year round at lettermenrow.com.